Welcome to No Cover Comics.
Avengers Giant Size Number 2, from November 1974. Blast from the Past, story by Steve Englehart and art by Dave Cockrum.
Before we begin, let's take a moment to discuss the Avengers involved. At this point, the Avengers are primarily composed of former adversaries. The Vision, who became an Avenger after initially being sent to eliminate them by Ultron. The Scarlet Witch, who joined the team after being dispatched to confront them by her father and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. The Swordsman, who had previous conflicts with the Avengers before being accepted into their ranks. And Hawkeye, who experienced a misunderstanding with Iron Man prior to his inclusion in the Avengers. Additionally, Iron Man, Thor, and Mantis complete the roster of the Avengers in this narrative.
At the start of our story, Hawkeye has been away from the Avengers for a while. After a conflict with Captain America, he decided to go off on his own. During this time, he runs into a group of jewel thieves and manages to catch them. He then calls the police and waits for them to arrive. When the police show up, they mention they're worried about him not being with the Avengers, especially since in the last issue, they were captured by Kang the Conqueror. Once he hears that his friends are in trouble, Hawkeye quickly heads back to the Avengers mansion. At the mansion, Jarvis explains the situation regarding the capture of the Avengers and the circumstances surrounding it. A star had appeared above the mansion, indicating that the Celestial Madonna was among the women present, specifically either Scarlet Witch, Mantis, or Agatha Harkness. When the star reveals which of them is the Celestial Madonna, Kang intends to marry her. Although Kang captured the rest of the Avengers, he left behind the Swordsman, deeming him not worth the effort. Feeling disheartened, the Swordsman decided to pursue Kang on his own and encountered Rama Tut during this quest. At this point in our story, they have returned to the Avengers mansion. Upon their arrival, Hawkeye recognizes Rama Tut from the Fantastic Four's accounts, but observes that he appears to be an older version of the Rama Tut they previously encountered. Although Hawkeye remains skeptical of him, Rama Tut assures that he is there to assist. Given that they are now down to the two least powerful Avengers, Hawkeye concludes that he has no choice but to place his trust in him for the time being. From there, we transition to Kang, who is delivering a monologue to the women, enthusiastically describing the capabilities of his macrobots. He explains his plan to use the captured Avengers as power sources for these machines. With the Avengers energizing them, he intends to deploy the macrobots to eliminate key political figures from the United States, the Soviet Union, and the People's Republic. The ensuing chaos from these assassinations would be leveraged to ignite World War III, ultimately allowing Kang to assume control of whatever remains. To initiate his plan, Kang arrives outside the United Nations and sends the macrobot containing Vision after the U.S. Secretary of State. Unexpectedly, our small group of Avengers appears and engages the macrobot in combat. Unfortunately, the odds are not in their favor, as they are the two least powerful members of the team. As the battle intensifies, the Swordsman begins to question whether he has been misled by Rama Tut and reflects on his misplaced trust in him. Meanwhile, Rama Tut, who sees himself as Kang in the future, reflects on his past feelings of emptiness and regret after he gave up everything and returned to ancient Egypt. It is at this moment that he reveals Vision is inside the macrobot. Upon hearing this, Hawkeye devises a plan. Knowing that Vision is solar-powered, he aims an ink arrow at the eye slots of the macrobot. After some struggle, Vision runs out of energy and collapses. This ultimately prompts a very frustrated Kang to retreat. This allows Rama Tut to release the Vision, after which Rama Tut teleports them away, reflecting on his time in Egypt. He had resolved to prevent his past actions. The challenge was that he did not possess a time machine during his time in Egypt. Consequently, he consulted with his court magicians and utilized some technology to place himself in suspended animation, anticipating the day when the Swordsman would discover him and reawaken him. Meanwhile, Kang has shifted his targets, redirecting his focus from the Soviet Union to China. He is employing his Iron Man macrobot to confront one of their leaders. However, the moment he exits Kang's time sphere, the Avengers reappear. Upon noticing that Rama Tut is encumbered by a powered-down Vision, Kang prioritizes eliminating them first. This leads to a brief conflict between Scarlet Witch and Mantis over Vision. Despite Scarlet Witch's relationship with him, Mantis expresses her interest, even though she has recently ended her involvement with the swordsman. Returning to the battle, Hawkeye attempts the same technique he employed on the previous Mac robot, but it results in failure. The swordsman then takes his turn and gets blasted. Vision tries to phase through the Mac robot, but is unable to do so due to Iron Man's force field. Instead of fully penetrating the Mac robot, he inserts his cape through its outer shell, leaving it there to reform, resulting in a conflict between two entities occupying the same space and leading to the Mac robot's explosion, which unexpectedly frees Iron Man. Enraged, Kang promptly deploys the Thor Mac robot to target the Avengers. Kang's strategy proves questionable, as providing a depowered Iron Man with an electrical shock from Thor is counterproductive. While Kang is distracted, Vision manages to release the women, and Wanda unleashes a powerful attack by summoning molten lava beneath the Mac robot's feet. At this point, every Avenger joins the assault against the Mac robot, which resists fiercely because it houses Thor. With the Avengers striking from all sides, it ultimately requires Wanda to reach into the sky, pulling down a meteor to strike the Mac robot before they can finally disable it. Once it is subdued, Rama Tut frees Thor from its grasp. At this moment, Rama Tut and Kang come face to face. When they meet, it creates a time disturbance because having two versions of the same person in the same place is too much for time to handle. During this disruption, we learn that Mantis is the celestial Madonna. Rama Tut and Kang argue for a bit, and when Kang realizes he's going to lose, in a fit of anger, he decides that if he can't have the celestial Madonna, then no one can. He tries to shoot her, but the swordsman jumps in front of Mantis to protect her. In the midst of the struggle, Rama Tut tackles Kang to the ground, and a stray bullet hits the swordsman's sword, causing a fatal jolt. As Rama Tut and Kang continue to fight, they end up in a time bubble and vanish from that moment in time. With Kang gone, the Avengers turn their attention to the dying swordsman, who shares some final words with Mantis as he fades away.
And that's the blast from the past, with the death of the swordsman.
And now for my review. This was one of the first Avenger comics I ever read as a kid, and it really elevated Hawkeye in my eyes when it came to being a good Avenger. In fact, I had forgotten what the cover of this comic actually looked like until I looked it up to do this video. It had always been just Hawkeye to me. It was the first time I had seen a story about how the weakest member of a team saves the strongest members of a team. The action in the comic is non-stop. The splash pages are just beautiful, and it has a meaningful death actually in the end. Thanks for watching, and leave me any criticism in the comments below.
Please like and subscribe.